Welcome to Miami Valley Update. In this edition, we're excited to share information about the CenterPoint Energy Dayton Air Show presented by Kroger. This year's show takes place July 30th and 31st. And joining me in the studio are Scott Buchanan, the chairman of the board for the Dayton Air Show, and Kevin Franklin, the director of the show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It's almost air show time.
Yes,
how about
it is.
that?
Yes, it is.
It's like
Coming quickly.
It's coming up very quickly, very quickly. Scott, it's coming up quickly, but I heard you say something as we were sitting down that you're already planning for next year.
Next year's
So
show.
what goes on in the off season?
So the off season for the military acts, we put in a request a year in advance. So the dates, you'll notice they move during the month. That's not us moving the dates or picking dates. That's us making recommendations, and if the jet teams fit us into their schedule. So that's why the dates move. That happens a year in advance, as well as starting to line up some of the other acts that we might want to have. And we try to change it every year. If you notice, Tora's here every 3 to 4 years. I always try to have as many fighter jets or acts like that as we can. So we just try to change it up every year. And this year we've really changed it up. So looking forward to it.
Quite
Yes,
a bit. There's so much to talk about in
is.
today's show. So I know that you said you look at what other shows are doing and
just try to change it up. You know, with entertainment, you have to change it and keep it constantly moving to draw people back out and keep them entertained. We've never had an issue with having the large air show that we have in Dayton and the infrastructure that we have, having a really nice air show, very safe, lots of room for folks to spread out. We have over 100 acres. But we want to make sure we're always changing it up a little bit and give everybody something new maybe to see on the ground or in the air or a new experience. So we're always trying to make sure we're paying attention to that.
So, chairman of the board, what's the board's role in this? Because you have a director, but what's the board's role?
So really, I'm just a volunteer like all the other board members. Our job is to hire a producer of the show and work with that producer to put on a show. So we spend a lot of time with the sponsors that we'll talk about, things of that nature. But really, the juxt of the show or the real production of the show happens by those we hire. And we had a team in place for 17 years. I know we'll talk about it here in a little bit. We've made a change, and we've been very blessed to have high quality shows, announcers. We were considered top 4 in the nation there for a while. So
let's talk about that change. Obviously, Kevin's new to the set and to this show. Well, let's talk about that.
So we were very fortunate. The gentleman, Terry Grievous and Associates, that ran the show for 17 years for us, wanted to retire. So he took off and sailed off into the sunset. And he's still somewhat engaged in helping us transition this year. But we're very fortunate to have him for 17 years and learn a lot from him. We're also very fortunate to have Kevin and his team from Wright Brothers Aero, who've also been very involved in the show for years, even before I think Kevin's boss is the owner's predecessor. I think his father was involved. So, we've got 48 years, and these guys have been involved probably as far back as the show being at the Dayton International Airport.
That's a perfect way to introduce our viewers to Kevin Franklin. Kevin, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement up till now with the show.
Yeah, got a long history with the Dayton Airport and with the air show, like Scott had said. Do the refueling, involved with the hangars. Wright Brothers, we in the commercial aviation, the general aviation, cargo, de-icing. I mean, everything associated with aircraft. We do it. And I started back at Wright Brothers in 1988. Okay. So this will be my 34th air show. So,
oh wow! Yeah. So it's not a new show to you at all.
No. But like Scott said, that's what we're looking to try to put a little newness on it. So
that's great, Scott. We can see that it was a perfect fit for the board.
Absolutely.
Kevin, what can we see now that we have a change in leadership? What can the average person attending the show expect? What's going to be different?
Well, they're really not going to see a whole lot of big changes. It's going to, if you've been coming out to the show for years, you're going to see the great air show that's been produced every year. The only new change that we really have coming up this year that we're really kind of excited about is we got a change in the parking.
That's a big shift.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that have been coming out in the past, will probably notice the shift. But I think we've got everything in place to make the transition that is going to just be a big benefit to the show.
So we want to direct everybody to DaytonAirShow.com, where you can get all the details for attending the show.
Absolutely.
Premium seating options, to new parking maps, to ticket discounts, all at DaytonAirShow.com.
Another change I would add is we've added additional seating. We've added some additional seating in an area that didn't normally get used. With the sponsorships, you have to have things to offer them, and these gentlemen got together with Amy and developed what they call the hangars. I think was there 4 or 5?
5 of them, yeah. They're called the Flightline hangars, and yeah, it's a special seating. It is a chalet experience, and it's like Scott had said, it's right out on the show line. One of the nice things is we've sold those to the sponsors wholly. And we're actually going to sell some of the individual tickets, and they go on sale this Friday.
That's awesome.
July 1st.
So again, check DaytonAirShow.com for all of those details. Now, Kevin, what kind of other things are you planning? I know that it's a year-round planning. Just as the board's planning, you guys are taking care of the grounds and.
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing to work on the chalet areas, pavilion areas. You're right, it's ongoing, and it's just things that we're going to continue to do and keep the quality up for the people that come out to the show.
It's a great group of folks that help bring that show together, pulling all that off, pulling it all together. I know that pulling off the show takes a lot of people. Takes a lot of partners. Scott, talk to us about some of those really key partners to pull
So from
in the show.
it doesn't happen without the sponsors. We're very fortunate to have the sponsors that we do, the very large sponsors. So we have CenterPoint Energy. Everybody probably pays a bill for CenterPoint in this area, so we all know who they are. Kroger, a lot of us shop at Kroger's. Premier Health, Collins Aerospace, Miami Valley Gaming. There's just a ton of sponsors that help us make this go, which allows us to attract those larger acts and be able to afford to bring that high quality entertainment to town.
And reinvest into the
Absolutely,
facility
the infrastructure.
for the future.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Umbrellas and tables and tents, and we're one of the only shows that has the infrastructure that we have, and having air-conditioned chalets that are there year-round with restrooms and the space that we take half the airport over in a 2.5-mile runway, and they turn us loose on 100 acres. So it gives us a lot of opportunity to create a very enjoyable space.
So with that, I mean, Kevin, the airport has to be a huge partner.
Oh, yes. I mean, the city of Dayton and the Dayton International Airport, I mean, we couldn't do it without them, that's for sure. And they definitely work with us, and it's a very good partnership we got going with them.
Just turning over part of their airport to
Yeah,
you,
yes,
and
yes.
hey, just bring 35,000 of your friends over for a huge party
Yes,
right there.
Yes.
So I know it's the Dayton International Airport. It actually sits kind of, Vandalia surrounds it.
Oh yeah, the city of Vandalia. I mean, can't do it without them. I mean, all the law enforcement and everything. All the hours they put into making the show happen. It's incredible. So we definitely thank them for sure.
Absolutely. Now, Scott, we talked that you're a volunteer, the board is volunteers, but that's not all the folks that are volunteers.
The other way the show has been so successful is, we have trash to remove, we have tables to set up and tents to set up, and directing folks and running, golf carts around and making sure folks get to where they need to go. There's approximately 2,000 volunteers, and that's happened year over year over year. And we want to make sure we, thank those folks and recognize them for all their commitment. We have volunteers that have been doing it over 30 years. So it's quite a testament to the show itself and just to the community support that we have to pull this thing off.
I've talked to some volunteers, and they tell me all the time it's like a big reunion. They can't wait to see each other. They only get to see each other for a week out of the year, and they can't wait to get there. The volunteers are important, but I know especially this year there's a lot of military involved.
There is a lot of military involvement.
So
Right.
The big partner.
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base provides all the support for any of the aircraft that comes in from the military. So very fortunate to have Wright-Pat here, but not only have Wright-Pat here, but to have the support. And the show actually started, this is my understanding, by when the Thunderbirds first came out, they wanted us to put a show on to be able to display what the Air Force could do and the military might. So that's kind of how it started. So that marriage between Wright Pat and the air show started from the beginning, and we couldn't do it without them.
Now, we've been talking so far about the air show and the acts flying, but Kevin, there's so much more to do. I was looking at the list of the static aircraft that are going to be on display this year. But that's not all there is to do. Talk to us about what there is other than the show in the air. There's the show beyond the show.
Yes. So we've got the Army Aviation Heritage Foundation. It's an all-volunteer nonprofit organization, and they're going to have their Huey helicopters out there and the Cobra helicopter and be given rides on Saturday and Sunday. They're from the Vietnam era, so they're a staple every year. We've had them quite a few years now. And we have the CenterPoint Energy Kids Hangar, where moms and dads can go and take their kids and kind of kick back and let the kids do their thing. And
you know, I got to stop by there last year. There's so much to do in there. There's this massive sandbox.
Yes.
And face painting and just tons of activities, and it's in the shade.
Right.
That was huge.
And the great thing is a lot of the military acts will, after they're done flying, some of the jets, maybe not the jet teams as much, but a lot of the other flyovers and things, if they're on the ground, they'll stop by and see the kids and provide an extra layer of entertainment. So it's been really good.
And the best part is that's all free. That's all included into the show.
Yes, it is.
But there's so many other pieces to the show. There's the static aircraft. There's the great food and beverage, and just being able to spend the day out there. Absolutely. Scott, talk to us about the economic impact of the CenterPoint Energy.
Economic impact is about $3.7 million. We do a high-level calculation with the Chamber of Dayton to kind of look at the impact, but it's really hotels, restaurant spend, travel, fuel. There's a lot that goes into that, and it really starts probably Thursday before the show and maybe through Monday over the weekend. There's a lot of impact from us buying fuel and the things that we purchase, but it's also those coming to the area for the show.
Sure.
So there's a
Refueling
huge,
before they go home.
absolutely huge impact. So we're very fortunate to be able to have that here.
Well, Kevin, we're really excited for this year's show. I can't wait to see the show that you've put together. We're going to continue our preview in just a moment, but I want to again direct you to DaytonAirShow.com. Be sure to check out that website for all the information, including ticket prices, parking information, discounted tickets, and show lineup. So
Absolutely.
We'll be back with more right after these messages. Welcome back as we're looking at the CenterPoint Energy Dayton Air Show. Kevin, we talked a little bit about parking, but there's a new parking plan. What's new about the parking plan?
Yeah, so one of the changes, like I said, that we're kind of excited about this year is we have changed our general admission and our P lot, which is our chalet and pavilion lot, and made them a little more user-friendly. Where our P lot now, we have going to have 30 buses this year that's going to be running people back and forth.
More than double.
That. Yes, and we've made an inside track for the buses to be inside the airport, so they're not going out onto Dixie and interrupting the other traffic flow.
Now, I saw in the general admission parking that we're going to be able to make a pedestrian access, so you can just park in the lot right across the street and come right into the show.
Yes. And if you previous years have had a P lot, you're more than welcome to park in there again. It's just you won't have buses this time. So, but a lot of people do like to walk when they come to the show.
That's it, absolutely. So we encourage you all to check out DaytonAirShow.com for details about that parking and to plan it out. Of course, ticket information, everything is there. Great job. It looks great. I can't wait
Thank you.
to see how that pulls off. Double the buses. That'll be huge.
Yes.
That will be huge. So to pull off such a large event with as many people in attendance, safety has to be a major point. And the man who's responsible for the safety of the show is our Next guest, Dr. Brandon Amberge, is the medical director for the show. Welcome, Dr. Amberge.
Thank you.
So first of all, what does the medical director, what's that title encompass?
Well, quite a bit.
That's a big one.
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. So I oversee essentially the entire medical staff, any medical operations for the entire air show, ranging from pedestrian all the way to the performers. We're there 24, the entire time we're there. We're always on the lookout, so we have a full medical staff there ready to see you. We have board certified ER doctors, we have nursing staff, EMS coordinators. We have local EMS agencies that volunteer their time and their efforts to come and help us with the show and to take care of patients if need be. And we also have, 2 mobile MICUs and CareFlight from Premier that are there on site too. So if anything happens, from even spraining your ankle to a life-threatening illness, we're there and ready to see you and treat you if need be.
Right there on site with transport available. And we want to encourage everyone to check out CareFlight. There are actually multiple CareFlights, so you have it on static display as well.
Yep, there's one active all the time in case we had to have a transport, and there'll be one static on the pedestrian side of the show too, that you can meet the staff, meet the crew. You can get inside of it and tour it and just kind of get a feel for what the helicopter has to offer. So
very cool. Staying safe is definitely a team effort. What can attendees do to help themselves at this show?
Every year I pretty much say the exact same thing. It never changes. The show is in July this time. It's going to be very hot. Staying cool, wearing light colored clothing. The darker the clothes, the more heat you're going to absorb. Making sure you're drinking plenty of water and Gatorade on site. Again, I say every year, contrary to popular belief, beer is not a good way to hydrate yourself. So please drink plenty of water, plenty of Gatorade. We always encourage sunscreen. It doesn't take very long in that kind of heat and that kind of exposure to get sunburnt. Bring your umbrellas. And then I'm a big fan of towels that you can get moist and put around your head, or the squirt fans that you have that you can squirt yourself and stay cool. So anything you can do to essentially make yourself cooler and to get some shade is always a good idea.
Now, what's the most common thing that you see there at the show site?
Previous years have actually been pretty exciting, but I think the most common thing that we see, and I think we'll see more of this year, unfortunately, I think it's going to be heat-related illness. So passing out or dehydration is always a concern. Twisting your ankle or falling down, we see some scrapes and bruises at times, and that's pretty much the majority of things that we see in the tents usually.
But you're ready for anything
that happens, we're going to be ready to see you.
Awesome. What can we do to prepare ourselves to attend the show? Now, you talked about planning ahead, or the day of hydrating. What about beforehand?
I would even say the hydration starts a few days before you come to the air show. You don't want to come to the air show already dehydrated by any means. So I would say drink plenty of water, Gatorade beforehand, and kind of get yourself ready, kind of acclimate yourself to the heat that you're going to experience while you're there.
Well, we hope that folks will come out and visit you just to say hi.
Sure.
But thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Amberge. We'll definitely see you at the show. Thank you, Kevin. DaytonAirShow.com has all the information you need for parking and details on Know Before You Go. You'll want to stay with us for a preview of all of the acts at this year's CenterPoint Energy Dayton Air Show coming up next. Welcome back. Joining Scott and I in the studio is world-renowned air show announcer Rob Ryder. Welcome, Rob.
Where is he?
Oh,
Rob, are you excited about the show?
Oh, of course. And part of the reason for that, Ken, is that I started volunteering at the Dayton Show in 1979. The year after the Bob Braun Show came down there to what was then the Dayton Air Fair, in the 4th year of its existence in 1978, I started volunteering, then eventually started getting paid a little bit of money, had a hiatus when some other people took over, and then came back for 2003, and I've been here every year since '03, and I'm working with Danny Clisham, who has won the Sword of Excellence and the Bill Barber Award and the Art Scholl Award, and you look at the Blue Angels with their acts, their Sword of Excellence winners, the Golden Knights, of course, there every year. I'm excited about great lineup. Tora hasn't been here in a long time.
Right.
We've got the F-16 Fighting Falcon, the Viper demo team,
Yes, we
with
do.
Amy Rebel Fiedler, a female pilot. 2 of the 4 Air Combat Command Air Force single ship demo team pilots are ladies, and we've got one of them here, and that's a cool thing.
It's going to be amazing. Gonna be an amazing
I'm very
show.
excited with all of that going on, and lots more too. We'll talk.
We got a ton of time to talk about that. We got a lot to talk about. Scott, what can we expect to see at this year's show?
A lot of 100 acres covered with aircraft and things to do and places to sit and things to eat, and a front row seat to one of the largest air shows in the country.
It's the 47th year, you were telling me?
It's the 48th year of being in existence and having shows, the 47th show. We had a little blip in 2020 nobody wants to talk about,
That's
so
right.
we'll let that go with a little pandemic or something. I don't remember. It's been a couple years ago. So
Never happened. So everything that we've all come to love about the Dayton Air Show is back.
It is back.
And waiting for us. And you talked about that ground display. Rob, what do you think about that lineup?
We're talking 50 or so airplanes, and we go back in time to when that was commonplace among the big shows around North America. And then that it got tight, and for a number of years those static displays were not as big. But here we've got a B-52 coming in from either Minot or from down in Louisiana. I'm not sure which
it's
one.
Louisiana.
From Minot Air Force Base, I guess. You know, they made 744 of those B-52s. Only about 75 remain.
And there'll be one in Dayton.
One in
that
Dayton.
You can walk right up to.
You bet. And that's Dayton heritage too, because Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was home to B-52s for a number of years. I remember being at my aunt's home when I was a kid in Oakwood, being at her home and watching and hearing a B-52 fly over. That was pretty exciting stuff. C-17, a C-5 Galaxy, those airplanes, the C-17 is going to do a demo, but we also have a static one. People are going to be able to walk through some of those airplanes, and that's a cool thing. With those kinds of airplanes, all the way down to a little teeny experimental Vans RV-6 aircraft. Now, I have an RV-7 aircraft that my wife and I travel to at air shows. About 75% of my shows I travel in that little airplane to get there. But it is an experimental aircraft, but there are 11,000 of those airplanes flying around the world. And so the experiment, in my estimation, is over. I can fly. Mine is outfitted like an airliner. So I can get to shows that I have to get to. So we're going to see the biggest, the C-5 Galaxy, that new C-5M Galaxy with its re-engined and redone systems, down to this little 24-foot by 25-foot RV-7, trainers, fighters, and everything in between. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see those airplanes up close and personal.
Now, Scott, at the beginning of the show, we've talked before about what it's like to be out there on the flight line for the flag drop. And
there's nothing better than turning around and seeing children on their parents' shoulders seeing an air show for the first time, or that person that's been doing it with us for 40 plus years, and being able to provide that kind of entertainment for a day. You know, it's also very affordable. A family of 4 can come out for less than $100 and have hot dogs or drinks and see a quality air show. So that's the reason I'm in it. I'm getting chills talking about it. Being able to turn around and look at that crowd having a good time. I remember being there as a kid myself and putting a parachute on at a helicopter when I was 12 and a beanpole. So you have all these memories that come back to you, but it's why we're in it. I mean, it's very exciting to be able to do this, and for Dayton to have this is just amazing.
Ken, I got to tell you, I have all the images I have in my mind from all the air shows that I've done since 2006. I've done about 300 different air shows since I went full-time in the business. But while I was still a newbie at Dayton, I remember the Golden Knights doing their lineup on the little access road right in front of the pavilion, the chain link fence of the pavilion. And they're lined up. And you talk about inspiration. This is the most important and memorable image in my mind. As the Golden Knights were lined up and they stand and they do the whole thing. There's a little kid standing next to the fence going like this, and that's the kind of thing that air shows can do as family entertainment that other forms of entertainment can't do. We can inform, we can entertain, and we can inspire. And that's going to be huge this year as we look at people like Kevin Coleman, who's one of the young new performers. Not new anymore, it's his 14th year flying air shows, but he's one of the young guys doing it. Kent Peach, one of the best stick and rudder guys in the country, is going to demonstrate his capabilities in this 1943 airplane. And then, of course, the Super Hornets of the Blue Angels. Cha-ching.
Oh, yeah. It's just, you can't wait for all this. Let's talk about the Golden Knights. You've had a lot of experience with the Golden Knights. Share with us some of your favorite parts of the Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights are the official Army parachute team. They've been around since '59. They adopted that name, the Golden Knights, in 1961, and they've got the black demonstration team and the gold demonstration team, and they put on shows with parachuting where they'll jump out of these airplanes at 12,500 feet. One of the things that they do is they do the diamond track, where two guys jump out. They assume a body position like an Olympic ski jumper and shoot out at 180 miles an hour. They count, they look, they turn back to each other, and they cross literally within what looks like inches. It's probably about 50 feet, but they're going at 180 miles per hour before they do the cross. That kind of precision only comes from the kind of work that they do in their winter training down in Florida at Homestead Air Reserve Base. And the guys are great. And let me tell you one more bit of inspiration. Before the Golden Knights jump, they toss out the streamers, these crepe paper wind drift indicators, right? And if they come into the crowd, we always say, don't try to catch them because there's a little dowel rod, they'll sting you. But if they come down on the ground and they come down to you, you can keep them. There was a kid who was 14 years old, got one of those. His name was David Echeverry. He said, I'm going to be a Golden Knight. He became a Golden Knight. And now he is an Army aviator flying helicopters for your United States Army.
That's amazing.
He got inspired. The number of people who were inspired coming to air shows, there's dozens of pilots over the years who have become demo pilots or Blue Angels or Thunderbirds or F-18 pilots from the Navy or whatever, who have been inspired because of an air show that they went to. My dad took me to an air show in Columbus. I got to look inside one of the Thunderbirds jets and touch the pilot's flight helmet. And I had a musical career, but here I am all these years later getting excited about attending an air show.
Absolutely.
At Dayton, my home show.
That's it.
And we've been able to have pilots that are from the local area that have been Thunderbirds back to our show, which is
Oh my
amazing.
gosh.
To have these, they were inspired here and came back. It's amazing.
Kyle Oliver,
Yeah.
he's certainly with the team. And then the Thunderbirds' current announcer, Jake Pellizzeri, call sign Primo, he's from down in Cincinnati, down in my neck of the woods. So they come from all over. Blue Angels also have one of their enlisted people is from Cincinnati as well. So
It's amazing. So you want to bring out that whole family. You want to
Absolutely.
spend the day with us.
Absolutely.
So, Scott, we talk about that partnership with Wright Pat and with the military. What kind of things can we see at the show, specifically focusing on the military this year?
To Rob's point, we have tons of Air Force, Army, Navy aircraft that'll be on the ground as well as flying. You've got an F-16 from the Air Force. You've got the F-18s through the Blue Angels. So there's tons of flying. We also have different eras of flying. With Tora, you're going back to T-6 Texans and aircraft from the past that demonstrate what it was like to be in Pearl Harbor. So we've got something for everybody, really, and it's all facets of aircraft. The Vampire was one of the first jets after World War II. So
Royal Air Force jet, yeah.
So we have aircraft, something for everybody, to Rob's point, and there's a lot of support that happens from Wright Pat to support all that aircraft that comes to town. They're coming from Guard bases and Air Force bases all over the country, and a lot of that's voluntary. Then some of them make missions out of it. I know one of the tankers that's coming in is going to drag some of the other aircraft across and make a mission out of it. They're probably making an excuse to come to us because we have so much fun once they get there. I'm just throwing that out there, but they're making a mission out of it. So we really are very, very blessed to have the support that we have from the military. And to Rob's point, some years that that depletes when they get busy and they're overseas defending our country and doing what they do. But we're very fortunate to have the support that we have and have the show that we have.
You think of airplanes that are going to do demos. There used to be an F-15 demonstration jet team from the United States Air Force. And I don't know how, was it Amy who lined these guys up? From the 159th Fighter Wing down at New Orleans. These are guys who work down there in F-15 Eagles that have been around since the 70s. They were known as the Air Superiority Fighter. They're still flying them today. They're still doing coastal patrol, and if there's a problem, they are scrambled from Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base New Orleans. But they're coming up and going to do some flybys. They're going to beat up the field, and that'll be fun too.
There's just so much.
Oh,
this
yeah.
year. Oh, not just on the ground, not just in the air. It's both.
It really is. It's something for everybody. There's all kinds of things to do on the ground. There's tons of static displays. There's other vendors that bring all kinds of cool artifacts and things out that you can purchase. And it's really all facets of the industry. We have Collins and some of the providers that actually build part of the aircraft. Collins Aerospace up in Troy, Ohio, that works the landing gear for the F-16s, I think. So you've got all kinds of support. GE Aviation. So there's really something for everybody.
Now, Rob, I know we're going to talk about the Blue Angels a little bit later, but what about Fat Albert? Tell us about what's this plane, Fat Albert?
Well, back in the 1950s, Lockheed Martin came out with an airplane known as the C-130 Hercules. And it now holds a record of being the aircraft in the longest continuous production since the beginning of aviation. That's since the 50s, the mid-50s. As a matter of fact, in 2017, I believe it was 2017, December 17th, on the anniversary of the Wright brothers' first flight, the 2,500th C-130 Hercules came off the line down in Marietta, Georgia at Lockheed Martin's assembly plant. But the Blue Angels have had several different C-130s, but as they got old, these airplanes, they put them through some pretty significant non-aerobatic but nearly aerobatic routines. And so they got a new C-130 Super Hercules, a J model, and so Fat Albert will be flying at least on Saturday, doing a full demo prior to the 6 FA-18 Super Hornets of the Blues. 42,000 pounds of General Electric thrust from each airplane. Wait till they do what they call the Burner 270. Now, I forget the math, but it's like over 192,000 pounds of thrust that they come around from the left in front of the crowd, and in the delta, all 6 airplanes, they go vroom, and when they go by, you look in the tailpipes, they're glowing orange, and we're hearing and it just shakes you from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes.
I'm so excited about the show. At every act, I'm now like, I can't wait for that one. I can't wait. But let's take a look at some more video with Fat Albert.
Fat Albert is specifically designed to carry 49 personnel and over 6 pilots weighing 30,000 pounds. Hi, I'm Captain William Huckaba, the lead C-130 pilot with Fat Albert Airlines. Each weekend, we jump in Fat Albert, get ready to go Thursday mornings, load up with all of our gear and personnel, and head to a new show. Once we arrive, we get everyone off Fat Albert. Everyone gets organized and ready for the jets to arrive. Afterwards, we usually get ready for our circles and arrivals, where we get to see all the show site specifics that we're going to be flying for that weekend. Now, one of the unique missions of Fat Albert is our logistical mission, where we actually support the team logistically, and we have to be ready at a moment's notice to go get any part or personnel to get ready for the flight demonstrations.
The secondary mission of Fat Albert Airlines is to demonstrate the capability of the Super Hercules through flight demonstration, also representing many of our forward deployed Marines within many of the C-130 communities and squadrons.
So the C-130J is capable of accomplishing a multitude of missions, from combat assault transport. In the fleet, we will utilize this airframe to conduct air-to-air refueling as well as aerial delivery, and some can even do close air support. But primarily, we utilize it for logistical support for the Marine Corps.
Wow, that's an amazing plane.
Yeah, sure is.
But vampire air shows. Talk to me about what this vampire.
Well, our buddy Jerry Conley somehow has found his way into a group of guys and have picked up on this, one of the oldest jets in the history of aviation. The Royal, I call it Royal Air Force, I think it's Royal Navy Vampire, because this particular aircraft type was the first jet aircraft ever to land on an aircraft carrier on purpose. but Jerry Conley's going to fly it. It's a very unique looking aircraft, and we'll have a chance to see and hear it, and depending on how the radios are all working, we may even talk to him in the middle of it, and he'll explain a little bit about the jet too. But it's got quite a history. So Jerry will be flying that de Havilland Vampire jet, and it looks cool.
It does look very cool. Now, I read somewhere that Jerry's flying career began at 8 years old in the village of Beaver, Ohio. How about that?
Well, that's a new one on me, because he did not tell me that.
Jerry the Jet.
He told us that at ICAST. He says, I'm from Ohio and I want to fly an Ohio show. So that's kind of how that happened.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Let's take a look at some highlights of this vampire. Okay, adding to the vampire this year, something about fire. Fire.
Tiger.
Tiger,
Yes.
tiger.
Yeah, that was the date as President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, the next day, the date which will live in infamy, when our naval forces in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii were attacked by the aircraft, almost 200 airplanes from the Imperial Navy of Japan. And that attack cost nearly 2,500 American lives, some of whom are still buried in the Arizona at Pearl Harbor in that ship that exploded with all the magazines and the armament in them. But Tora 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 is not. It's not to glorify war, but it's to say this is what happened and this is what brought us into the war, and then made the United States, brought us in against not only Japan, but also against Germany and Italy, and we saved the world. Our 16 million Americans participated in the war. 405,000 almost Americans died in the war. And Tora 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 is a depiction of what happened at Pearl Harbor that day. And it's interesting, you talked, when you mentioned earlier, Scott, about the original T-6 Texans. They took a lot of old World War II North American Texan aircraft and consolidated Vultee BT-13 basic trainers. And they stretched them, they modified them, changed the canopies to make them look like Japanese Zeros and Kate torpedo bombers and Val dive bombers from the Imperial Japanese Navy that participated in crippling our Pacific fleet there with these shallow torpedoes. And so we'll see that. And it was interesting, in those days, they had $20,000 in the late 1960s for the movie Tora Tora Tora, $20,000 budget per airplane to make them look like Japanese airplanes. If you don't count for inflation, it costs more to make the movie than it did to actually do that attack.
Wow.
But that said, the men and women who are involved in flying those airplanes do it as a tribute to the sacrifice of our servicemen and women in Pearl Harbor and all throughout the war.
And there's so much that day at the show. There's a huge pyrotechnics that go along with this show.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of booming going on in that. So
you can feel the heat anywhere in the crowd.
there you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's take a look at some highlights from Tora, Tora, Tora. Well, you definitely will not forget seeing Tora, Tora, Tora. It's history, it's family entertainment, and just the fire, the explosions, and those planes, the very distinctive sound of those engines are just something that just brings me right back to Dayton Air Show. I can't wait. Can't wait for it.
Yes, indeed.
But now tell me about this Jelly Belly. What's Jelly Belly?
Our Jelly Belly is the sponsor of Kent Peach.
Got it.
Flies the Interstate Cadet from 1943. This is a guy who handles an airplane like few others can do it. One of the best stick and rudder guys, I think, anywhere in the world today. And he'll demonstrate that in his 2 acts that he'll be doing. Kent Peach is from Minot, North Dakota, and he is sponsored by the Jelly Belly Candy Company that's been around since the late 1800s. Wow. But the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean was popularized by President Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now they've got gourmet flavors, and there will be some lucky folks who are along the show line who will get some samples of Jelly Belly jelly beans. And I always try to get plenty myself because I find them real good. And you can mix and match flavors and come up with all sorts of stuff. And if you go to Jelly Belly Candy Company, jellybelly.com, out in Fairfield, California, you know, obviously not every jelly bean comes out perfect. So they package those up, the ones that aren't good, and they call them belly flops.
I love it.
But Kent Peach has won the Art Soul Memorial Showmanship Award and also the Bill Barber Award for Showmanship that's presented by World Air Show News up at Oshkosh every year. And so he's one of the great performers that has been around for a while, and I just appreciate everything that he does when he's in an airplane. He's a good friend.
Kent's show is a little different than what some might be expecting.
Yes, and I think we'll just let people sort of figure it out. But you will get a chance to see just how spectacular a pilot he is with respect to energy management on his second act. He shuts the engine down and flies it down to a specific spot on the ground. It's pretty special.
Pretty special.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at some highlights.
Again, Chuck Dramamine. Okay, Chuck.
What up here?
Chuck, we're going to help you get down to the ground here.
I'm doing an instructor.
Up, Chuck, up, Chuck, up, Chuck. Did I really want to say that?
You had to. Oh, okay. At least he's keeping it in the confines of the airport so we can talk him down.
The other thing I'll tell you right now, Chuck, you have to land here because there's no place to land back at the prison. Not that you probably would want to do that, right?
I got out of there on payroll.
It's a day parole, folks.
Oh, look out, Ross. Look out, Ross.
Chuck!
Whoa, look at Ross. He's throwing his fist at him.
Those guys.
Well, you see, it was their act that you broke in on. That was the problem. Watch those airplanes that are taxiing Chuck.
They're expensive.
Sorry to tell you that.
I was worried about that when I put it on. I was in a hurry because they were chasing me.
He was in a hurry because he was being chased.
Oh, are you in trouble? I'll tell you, when you put that airplane together, there were a few bolts missing. A few bolts missing in the pilot, too, I think, Chuck.
The paperwork because of it.
He cut it.
He cut the toilet paper.
He cut the toilet paper.
We got it.
You think of everything, Chuck.
Just up that lost it.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, at least you're keeping it inside the airport. Thank goodness for that. We don't want anybody else to have to experience this.
Well, you know, I've been asking for a little help from you, and I haven't heard anything but upchuck. Any idea what to do with the wings?
Back this way.
Don't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay, he's
Looking
almost
good. Looking good, Chuck.
He's almost down. He's almost. He's. That's not the runway. That's okay. Who cares? He's got it on the ground.
It's not a runway, Chuck, but it'll do. It's on the ground. You know how to stop it?
So the parole officer said.
That's what he's pulling in prison. Pretty hard to hide that.
Well, you did it. You did it. They're coming for you.
The tail is up. Get the speeds up. And there you go. Not only does he land, he also takes off.
Well, that's going to be exciting, and every act I'm saying is my next favorite that I can't
We're
wait
very
to
excited
see.
because I don't think we've had Kent here before, so I'm really excited.
Yeah,
Yeah, first time.
in Dayton.
First time in Dayton.
Yeah. But the headliner for the air show.
The Navy's Flight Demonstration Squadron, known to the world as the Blue Angels. That's going to be cool.
So you've had a little bit of experience with these, with this team. Talk to us about what we can expect to see if someone's never seen a Blue Angel show before.
You're going to see a demonstration of the ability of 4 airplanes traveling at 400 plus miles per hour to fly as one within 18 inches of one another. Now
18 inches.
18 inches. I have been privileged to fly with the Blue Angels twice. Once in the number 4 jet and once in the number 5 jet. But in the number 4 jet, when they are flying in that close diamond formation, if it were possible, literally, to reach up through the top of the canopy, which is about that far over the top of the helmet, and reach up that like that, you could literally touch the missile rail of the number 2 aircraft past the center line. So the way they fly it like that, it is fantastic. The solos fly fast. They demonstrate opposing maneuvers where they cross literally within 50 feet of each other at a closing speed of nearly 1,000 miles per hour. Wow. So boom, they do the knife edge pass, they do opposing aileron rolls, they they are just amazing guys, and I have the opportunity to go out to winter training. I've done it every year for, gosh, since 2011, I think, to coach their new narrator every year. So I watch the intensity, the attention to detail that they strive for perfection in the 120 training flights that they do before they do their first public performance. Wow. And so Captain Brian Kesselring, the leader, and all the rest of the team members are eager to be here at Dayton, and it'll be a whole lot of fun.
Now, what I'm always impressed with is the show, before they even take off, the ground show.
The military manner in which the 6 pilots approach their aircraft and saluted by their crew chiefs, it just is a precursor to the same kind of precision that you'll see in the air from the time they start to the time they shut down. They operate with split-second precision.
Just an incredible show.
Yeah,
everybody's going to enjoy it.
You bet.
Scott, there's not a bad seat in the house.
There's not a bad seat in the house. Saturday, a lot of our premium seating is sold out. Chalets are sold out. So
nice problem to have.
Nice problem to have. They've also added some seating areas called the hangars that you'll see that are a little different this year. But it's going very quickly. So we're looking to have a large crowd. We're not going to talk about the weather. We never talk about the weather at air shows. It's always going to be very sunny, beautiful.
Always beautiful.
High ceilings. It's going to be great. But we really look forward to having everybody
show
out.
up and do it.
That's right.
Exactly. It's in July. It's in late July. It'll be fine.
It'll be beautiful.
It'll be beautiful.
It'll be beautiful.
A little warm, but it'll be beautiful.
There's so much to do outside of the show, so we encourage folks to come early.
Yes.
I've heard you say this many times. Come early, stick around, visit the static displays, bring a camera.
Yes.
That would be make sure that you're ready to take some photos. Scott, it really looks like you and Kevin and the team have put on an amazing show for us. Kudos to you all.
Yes, indeed.
Very fortunate to have all that support we talked about. So we're just one little piece of all the volunteers and sponsors and City of Dayton and Vandalia, Right Pad, all those, everybody coming together. Rob being here for so many years. We're very fortunate. I'm just going to throw it out there. We're very fortunate because it's the only show that I think you and our other announcer, should
Danny
we mention that guy's
Clisham.
name?
Yeah,
Danny
Danny
Clisham.
Clisham.
I was going to throw Hollywood out, but
Yeah, that's right.
know.
That's what they call it. Actually, this year we're going to have 2.
You're going to have 2 this year?
I'm going to be out with we're going to do Minden, Nevada as well together.
But we're very blessed to have Rob and Danny together. We're very fortunate to have that.
He's been doing it for 55 years.
Wow.
I think.
Has he really?
Yeah. I love all the information that you and Danny bring to the show. I learned so much just sitting in my chair, enjoying the show. And it's like, oh, I never knew that.
You don't get to sit in your chair and enjoy the show either.
So we want to direct everyone to DaytonAirShow.com, and we want to make sure that you mark down the dates, July 30th and 31st. And Rob, again, I'm so excited to hear you and Danny. I can't wait.
Man.
I can't wait for the show. I can't wait to hear you and be back at the Dayton Air Show. So again, check out DaytonAirShow.com for all details, for parking maps, for ticket information, and we'll see you this summer at the Dayton Air Show.